Today is all about understanding the gene keys. I've had a few comments talking about how things need to be broken down more. They don't really understand how you can apply gene keys to money and to business. So today we are covering the different areas that I think are important to understand, because in the next few videos I'm going to be going over the Pearl sequence of gene keys, because that's specifically what the comment that I'm referencing was about. So hello, my name is Ebony. If you are new to my channel, I am a human design reader expert and coach. So the first thing we need to understand is human design versus gene keys. Okay, I have notes, so don't judge me. What we first want to understand, and I have this beautiful board because there's some things that I really think are important visually to get, okay? So, human design. Human design is an experiment, right? Okay, so this is you, right? And human design is your aura, right? It's the energy that you're giving off, it's the energy that you're taking in. It's an experiment. You are becoming aware of and learning how you are meant to operate in the world, right? You're trying things out, you're seeing how things resonate, you're working with your strategy, you're working with your authority. It's all very action-based, right? You're doing things, you're learning things, you're becoming aware of unconscious patterns and things like that. So human design is an experiment, right? Gene keys no, that's wrong. Gene keys is a journey, okay? You start here, you're pulled here, you're pulled here, you're pulled here. It's a journey. There's movement, right? So when we're talking about the gene keys specifically, understand that it's not just, oh, it's this one thing independently, and I'm gonna apply this one thing and everything's gonna fall into place. You can do that with human design, right? There's a lot of things in human design, just following your strategy and authority. That will make a huge transformation and huge impact on your life, because human design is meant to be experimented with. It's action-based, right? With gene keys, it's a journey, it's movement, it's growth, right? And each part of the journey tells you something different, teaches you something different, brings something else into the equation, right? Gene keys is not a destination, okay? Human design, more of a destination. Gene keys is a journey. So let's talk about the different pathways, right? Because again, what makes gene keys a journey is the pathways. So the three main pathways that we see come up in human design are the ones that pull you into different directions. So the first one is here. It's pulling you. So you have one gift and you have another gift, and they're being pulled in opposite directions, right? That's the challenge. That is the first challenge that we encounter in gene keys, right? Then we have the breakthrough. The breakthrough is where we are becoming aware of the unconscious patterns that have been driving us, right? So after we've gone through the challenge, we have learned to balance these two energies, right? Then we move here. We're figuring out what has been driving us this whole time, what has been, working underneath the surface that we were not conscious of, right? Then we have stability. This is where we are anchoring in everything we learned in these three phases. We're anchoring it in here, culminating to the last part of the sequence. This is not the end, right? Because again, it's a journey. We go back to the top, right? This is the sequence, the pattern that we go through all of our lives. We will always have challenges. We will always have breakthroughs. We will always anchor in those lessons that we learned, right? And then it starts over again. These are the three pathways that we see come up again and again and again in the gene key sequences, especially in the Pearl sequence, which we're going to get into in another video. So Now let's talk about the different expressions that we see in the gene keys, because gene keys is a derivative of the human design system, right? It focuses on the 64 gates. Instead of calling them gates, they're called genes in the gene key system. That's why it's called gene keys, right? So there are, move this so you can see, there are 3 different expressions. We have the shadow expression, we have the gift expression or the gift frequency, and then we have the siddhi, which is the highest frequency. This is essentially enlightenment. And enlightenment for each gate is going to look different. There's different shadows, which are like the lower frequencies. There's different gifts, which are like the medium frequency. And then there's the siddhi, which is the highest frequency. Each gate has, a different one. So when we are moving through the gene key sequence, when we're moving through these pathways, this journey, we are also moving through a journey of the frequencies. We'll start here in the shadow, right? As we learn to accept and embrace our shadow, we unlock the gift. And it is through the gift that we get to the siddhi. It's through our gifts that we get to enlightenment. But we cannot get to our gifts before we accept our shadows, before we integrate what we learn in our shadows. So, in the shadow, we accept, we embrace, we learn, we integrate, we move to the gift, right? As we stay in this gift frequency, as we hone our gifts, we move into the siddhi, the highest frequency, enlightenment. Then, depending on where we are in this journey, we go shoop back to the shadow frequency of the next gene, right? This is just how I see it, right? My interpretation of gene keys, this is how I see it. We master one area, right? We go shadow, gift, siddhi in one, and it pulls us. We're pulled, right? That challenge, we're pulled into the shadow of our next gene, right? Our next phase of the journey. We allow, we accept, we learn, we move to the gift. We hone our gift, we move to the siddhi. We're in this siddhi frequency, we're vibing high, right? Shoot! Shadow of the next gene. That breakthrough. We become aware of the unconscious patterns that's been keeping us stuck. But we can't become aware of something before we get into it, before we see that it's actually there. So we're pulled into it so that we can allow, accept, and learn, moving to the gift, honing the gift into the siddhi, and then what happens again? Shoot! And again, and again, and again, and again. So it's really it's a journey within a journey, okay? Which is why I will always recommend for people to get readings. And it's not because I'm a reader. Obviously, this is how I make money. It's not just because of that. It's because this is not necessarily something that's cut and dry, right? Not to say that human design is a little bit more cut and dry than gene keys is. But this journey, this process, this, climbing the ladder over and over and over again, it's personalized. This isn't even all of what goes into the gene keys, right? Because the shadow of one gene key, the shadow of one positioning on the journey is not going to be the shadow that, it's not going to be the same for all of them, right? The shadow of your life's work is different from the shadow of your evolution, which is different from the shadow of your radiance, which is different from the shadow of your purpose. These are all different shadows that show up differently in different areas of your life. So when someone tells me what's the best way to learn about, my gene keys or my human design, I'm always going to say getting a reading. Because it's not just something you can look at and be like, oh, just do this and everything will be fine. No, it's a journey. Yeah? Let's see, did I say everything I wanted to say? Yes, I did, sort of. So, what I want to end with is, I don't want you to get caught up in this word, shadow, right? Because shadow is not a bad word. Being in a lower frequency is not a bad thing, right? Because it's in the shadow frequency that you're able to learn, right? We learn the most when we're here, because here we're honing, here we're refining, right? The learning is here. And not only that, we gain the necessary knowledge and ability to guide others here. Because if I've been here, if I've been in my shadow frequency and I see that you are in that shadow frequency, I know exactly how to help you get here because I've been here. Because I've gone from here to here to here. If I've never been here, how am I going to teach you how to get here? How? How? Right? That's not genuine, right? So what I think is so beautiful about the Gene Keys is that every shadow has a gift. And you unlock the gift through the shadow. You're not bypassing the shadow, right? You're not pushing the shadow away. You're not trying to get rid of the shadow. You allow your shadow. You accept your shadow. You embrace your shadow. You learn from your shadow. This is your jump off point. This is your foundation, right? And because you've been here, you'll always know what it feels like. So you'll know when you're falling back into the shadow because you've been there before. You don't recognize somewhere you've never been. So if you spend all of your time, trying to always be in the city, like being the city of everything all the time, where are you learning? There's nowhere for you to grow if you're here all the time, right? Gene Keys is about growth. It's about movement. It's coming through these pathways. It's overcoming these challenges, breaking through those unconscious patterns, and anchoring in the knowledge that you get from these different frequencies, from these different genes, these different destinations in your journey, right? And this is part of the reason why I think human design and Gene Keys complement each other so well. Because as you're going through this journey, you are experimenting with your energy. So it's an experiment within a journey within a journey. Okay? And the reason why I think it's really important for you to understand all of this, understand how I see this, is because when I go through the Pearl sequence, which I'm going to do in the next video, I'm not going to explain all this. Because as you can see, this is a 13-minute video. And I've only gone over a very small piece. But this is what I want you all to understand, right? This is what we're doing when we're working through the Gene Keys. So I would highly recommend that you look up your gates, the gates of your Pearl sequence. If I have videos on them, which we're still in my gates series, so I'm still uploading a few, but look at the gates of your Pearl sequence and see if I have any of them uploaded now and go through those. Because when we get to the Pearl sequence video, it's going to be really, really helpful if you have those in front of you. And if I have them, up already, if you kind of know what we're going to be talking about before we jump into it. So make sure that you check out those videos. I will put a playlist and I will see you in the next video.